Welcome, bienvenidos, benvindo, to the SoccerMetrics Copa Libertadores Show, part of the SDH Network, the only English language show devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of SoccerMetrics. Last week were the first leg matches of the second preliminary round of this season's CONMEBOL Libertadores. There were some exciting moments and some heated moments that I'll get into, but when the dust settled from the first 90 minutes, all of the teams were either level or a goal ahead or behind. It's all to play for over the next 90 minutes this week. In this episode, I'll preview the second leg matches of the second preliminary round and nothing else. And we start with the matches that play on Tuesday. In Track 3, first match being Sporting Cristal of Peru versus Segunda de Mayo. Both teams come into this match after a dramatic, thrilling 2-2 draw in which there were 3 goals scored in the final 10 minutes. Segunda de Mayo come in having not played a league match because their most recent match versus Guarani was canceled. Both teams are in the Libertadores. Their key player is going to be Alexis Farinha. He's a forward midfielder. He's probably the most valuable player at the moment. They're going to look for a similar kind of play, particularly from the left wings. Sporting Cristal, on the other hand, will be without the services of Luis Iberico. He received a red card in the first leg. Their key player is going to be Santiago Gonzalez. He plays on the right, and they're going to look to his creativity and ability to bring other players into the attack to give Sporting Cristal a chance to advance to the third preliminary round. The other match in this track is between Huachipato and Carabobo. Carabobo come into this match with a 1-0 lead from the first leg. Huachipato are currently the leaders in Chile's Primera División. They defeated Palestino 2-1 over the weekend. Their key players are going to be Renzo Malanca, center back, and Maximiliano Gutierrez as the forward-facing player. Carabobo will be without Juan Perez, who received a red card in the first leg, and they'll also be without Angel Lucena, who has a knee injury. That's a long-standing knee injury. Their key player is going to be Matias Nunez, a defensive midfielder, really important player for the Venezuelan side. Track 4 is where all the controversy is in this second preliminary round. The first match in this track, and these are matches played on Wednesday, involves Argentinos Juniors versus Barcelona of Guayaquil. Argentinos' match versus Lanús was postponed because Argentinos are in Libertadores, Lanús are playing the Recopa Sudamericana. Francisco Alvarez received a red card in the first leg, and he will be out for the second leg. Juan Cardoso might be available from injury. Argentinos' key player is going to be Diego Porcel. He scored the critical goal in the first leg. He hit the post with a shot earlier. He's going to be really important for them. A key consideration for Argentinos is going to be whether the manager chooses to make wholesale changes to the forward line again, or go with the changes that he made in the first leg and make them starters for the second. As I mentioned, this match is being played under a lot of controversy. There were issues with players not being registered on time on the part of Barcelona. There were charges that Argentinos and the Argentine FA had some kind of role in that. There were issues with officials with Argentinos invading the referee locker room after the first leg, and there were back and forth between leadership of both clubs. So there's already a lot of bad blood between both teams. And it's really going to be interesting to see how this manifests in Buenos Aires this week. The second match of this track involves Botafogo versus Nacional Potosí. 1-0 to Nacional Potosí after playing in the high altitude of Bolivia last week. Botafogo are having a rough start to the year in Brazilian football. They're currently 12th in the Brasileirão. They lost 1-0 at Fluminense, and they have a laundry list of players who are out for this match. No fewer than 10 players are unlikely to appear in this match due to injury. In particular, Marçal, Chris Ramos, Danilo. Danilo is a critical player for Botafogo. So even though this match is going to be played at a lower altitude, this is going to be a really difficult match for Botafogo to win. Nacional Potosí are still in preseason mode. The league in Bolivia doesn't start for several weeks. Their key player is going to be Oscar Baldemar. He scored the goal for Potosí, for Nacional last week. And they're going to look to him again in the second leg. But it's going to be a challenge for Nacional as they come down from the clouds and play Botafogo at a much lower altitude. That part of Rio de Janeiro isn't at sea level, but it is at a much lower altitude for both sides. Track 1 involves two matches, one played on Tuesday, the other on Thursday. The first match is Independiente Medellin versus Liverpool of Montevideo. And Independiente grabbed a 2-1 victory in Montevideo last week. El Dim are unbeaten in their last 4 matches over all competitions. They drew 1-1 versus Pereira, and they're currently 16th in Colombia's Apertura División. They'll be without Jose Luis Changa. Their key players are Francisco Chavarra, the left winger, and Francisco Fedrzejewski, the center forward. Liverpool, for their part, are winless in their last 3 matches over all competitions. They drew 1-1 at Cerro, and they're currently 10th in Uruguay's Apertura División. They'll be without several players, most recently Agustin Cayetano and Kevin Amaro. The winner of this tie will face the winner of Guarani versus Juventud. 0-0 from the first leg. Guarani's match versus Segunda de Mayo in the league was postponed. They're currently 7th in Paraguay's Apertura. Juventud lost 1-0 to Central Español. They're 13th in Uruguay's Apertura. And Juventud may be without Sebastian Sosa, the goalkeeper, 39-year-old goalkeeper. That could potentially be a significant loss for the Uruguayan side. But I know better than to count out any Uruguayan side in a match where everything is at stake. And finally, the last 2 matches of the second preliminary round. Bahia of Brazil hosting O'Higgins of Chile. O'Higgins coming into this match with a 1-0 lead. Bahia have had a really good start to the Brazilian championships. They've advanced to the latter stages of their state league competition, and they're currently 4th in the Brasileirão, having defeated Vasco da Gama 1-0. They'll be without Canoe. He suffered a hamstring injury in a most recent match. O'Higgins lost 1-0 at home to Colo-Colo, and they're currently 11th in Chile's Primera División. They'll be without Esteban Moreira, who has an Achilles tendon worry. And finally, Deportes Tolima hosting Deportivo Táchira on Thursday. Tolima coming into this match having grabbed a 1-0 lead in San Cristobal. Tolima are 6th in Colombia's Apertura, winning 2-1 versus Once Caldas, and Táchira won 3-2 at Monagas, and they're currently 4th in Venezuela's Apertura. Going to be an interesting match between sides from neighboring countries in South America. And as a reminder that this week you can follow all 8 matches on either Fanati's, Fubo Sports, or YouTube, where the radio broadcast will be streamed. Got a comment or question about this podcast or about the Libertadores? Send them to my X handle at SoccerMetrics. You can also send questions or comments to @SoccerDownHere or to Jason Longshore at Longshoe. This show is also distributed on YouTube and Facebook, and you can follow the conversations there. I'll be back later in the week to recap the second legs of the Libertadores second preliminary round and set the stage for the third preliminary round. This has been the SoccerMetrics Copa Libertadores Show, proudly part of the SDH Network. See you later. Hasta luego. E até mais.